Good afternoon. Welcome into the WBGU studio here in the Coolin Center on Bowling Green State University's campus. We're here again with another episode of the Zig Zone, BG Falcon Media and Falcon Media Sports Network's flagship sports radio show where we take you through everything going on in the world of Bowling Green athletics. As usual, I'm your host, Holden Ruck, here from the Falcon Media Sports Network with three incredibly talented analysts alongside me today. First off, Dawson Pelter. How you doing, Dawson?
Doing good.
Glad to have you here. Lucas Kleinmeyer, our sports director as well. Don't want to sell him too short as just an analyst. How we doing, Lucas?
Is there any time left? Dawson took a lot of time there on that intro. I mean, that was crazy. I'm doing great. I'm doing good, excited. I mean, we're in the full action of spring sports now.
Yeah, he's going to have me eyeing the clock the rest of the show. Thanks a lot, Dawson. We appreciate it. Last but certainly not least, Foster Rosti. His favorite month of the year right now going on, so he's a happy boy right here. How you doing, Foster?
I'm doing good. It's the best month for basketball.
It is the best month for basketball. Unfortunately, Bowling Green basketball not in action, but we do have Bowling Green baseball and softball really getting into full swing with some conference play. We're going to start off and talk about the baseball team. Notable weekend for the baseball team. Continuing into conference play this weekend against the Ohio Bobcats, specifically because the Stellar Field ground is now turf. There are also lights, a new back wall, and I mean, just very, very modernized. I mean, it looks good. Have we all gotten the chance to see it now?
Oh,
it looks
amazing. Top tier professional, like it looks brand new. It looks really good.
It's a far cry away from where it was at, and a far cry from, a baseball program that was at one time discontinued, within this decade. So it's, kind of crazy to see now just the support behind that program.
I feel like really this series with Ohio, and we'll talk about the results. They obviously end up losing this series, but it's kind of just a culmination of like all the work they did in the past 2 years. Holden, I know you and I were here when they had that incredible unbeaten run in the MAC in 2024, and they just had, they really were the talk of athletics really in that year, and they obviously advanced in the MAC tournament. Obviously didn't get done, but they won the regular season. They had just a fantastic year, and this project, and shout out Tyler Kavlitz, who did a fantastic job, discovering and just finding out, reporting on what all went into this project. $3.4 million was the total amount of money to implement the new turf, the new lights, and all the little things that is around Stellar Field now. Paul Hooker really led that charge, Derek Vandermeer, or Hershiser, you can go down the list. The football alumni committee really, baseball, not football, really
Close.
came together. Yeah, I know. And I think honestly, like, you start out Friday. I know the dedication game was Saturday, but you start out the Friday game winning 7-0, shutting out Ohio. Sam Seidel hits the first home run with the new turf and against a field that he helped design. He's a graphic design major. He helped design the back of the Stellar Field, which I think is also like a story within a story, which also makes it really cool. And, wasn't too much really to celebrate after the Friday game, obviously, but I think, it was a great weekend for the baseball program regardless, just on the basic fact that they finally were home opener. It's a brand new field. Yeah,
and I think it's important to consider, the outcome of the weekend, which we'll talk about, is not what the team would want to see, not what the fans would want to see for sure. But, the expectations for this program are higher than I would say probably any program that rose from the ashes in the last 5 years. So, I think you have to take every result with a grain of salt. The fans and program are grateful to be playing ball. And, I think that asterisk kind of belongs with this team for, at least a hot minute. But that being said, kicked off the weekend in a pretty favorable fashion. A 7-0 shutout victory over the Bobcats. I was in this very chair in the studio for that one, and I felt really positive about the weekend after that. What I believe was our previous Falcon Media Sports Network Athlete of the Week, Ethan Stady, another remarkable performance for him. 7 innings pitched, no runs, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Really, really impressive day from Stady. He continues to be kind of the standout arm in that room for my money. Sam Seidel, as you mentioned, hit a grand slam, the first one over the wall that he designed. I know the dedication was Saturday, like you said, but you can't write it cooler than that. What a cool moment for Seidel, and a big momentum moment for the team. As the first couple innings, they started a little bit slow, both teams, but, it ended up snowballing. And the Bobcats, the bats just weren't hitting. Again, 7 innings, Stady was just solid all night. Carson Sova pitched the remaining 2. And, the Falcons, against a team that's generally toward the bottom of the MAC, one of the worst teams. You have the expectation at this point, and you want to see the win if you're a fan or if you're the team. But like something that they didn't feel crazy. It was like, yeah, I mean, this is a good Bowling Green team and a 7-0 win. Go into Saturday, bit disappointing. I felt like that team fell pretty flat for the moment. I know you won the opening game on the turf. You're going to remember that, and that's fine. But for the day with the dedication of the field, you like to think they could come out with the win there. Ohio jumped out to a 6-0 lead. The Falcons cut it to 8-5, but ultimately they weren't able to close it any closer than that, and the Bobcats won 5-8. Some solid stats across the board. Paulie Mancino had a home run, 3 RBI, so I mean, not a bad day for him. But a lot of 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 1 for 4. Not the most consistent bats of all. One exception, maybe Andrew DeLudovico stayed hot at the plate. Second straight game for him with multiple hits. That's significant. Anytime that this Bowling Green team has been successful, they've had solid pitching in the last couple of years, but they always, find guys who can consistently get some contact, consistently get runners on base or bat them in. So I think you like to see that, but just disappointing. It feels like a team that shouldn't let themselves go down 6-0 to begin with. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. And you kind of touched about it with the Saturday game. I mean, there's been a handful of games in athletics this year, I think, besides hockey hosting Ohio State, where there's a big external story or a big factor around the game. I think it comes to my mind on the men's soccer beat. Men's soccer host Evansville to honor Mickey Cochran. It was the first conference game, rematch of the MVC championship, lost 3-0, and it was a big, in my opinion, the most disappointing result of the year. I wouldn't go as far as to say this one would be that, but you have all the hype really surrounding it, and it was kind of an awkward placement, in my opinion, of the middle game of the 3. And Saturday, it's a weekend, people can come into town, and parents can come and see it. From what I saw from photo and video, was the dedication was great and everything, but you want to win that game. I mean, you don't really want to say, oh yeah, this was the game that we cut the ribbon and officially dedicated the field, but we lost. And I mean, there's many games in baseball, and you kind of just take them as they go, but it's just not what you've wanted in the sense as well. And I think even more so, you can really make an argument for today's game, losing 7-3. And I don't know if it's both similar. I know today they had a blow-up inning. I wanted to say was what inning was it? They gave up 6 runs today.
Yeah, sixth inning.
Sixth inning. And then, I mean, yesterday, they gave up 4 in the second. I mean, they kind of just had a bad start, and then they never really caught up. From there, Ohio had a 6-1 lead after the end of the 4th inning on Saturday. The bullpen kind of seems to be struggling a little bit, especially after their starting pitcher gets off the mound, and whoever kind of seems to go and just really hasn't seemed to keep it together or keep the Falcons in the game. But, it's definitely some stuff to figure out. There's still many games left, and I don't think you can really say, oh, we're panicking, but losing the series to Ohio is not good because, at least from my knowledge, they were picked as one of the bottom teams in the MAC heading into the year. I'm going to double check to see what place they were, but they were not a predominant favorite heading into the year, so it's not a good look regardless.
Yeah, and even just pulling it off of the current MAC standings right now, Bowling Green sitting in 2, 4, 6, 8, 9th right now. Ohio sitting in 10th after winning the weekend, the only one weekend of the year so far through 3 series of conference play for the Bobcats.
Yeah, Ohio's was picked 11th, 36 points. The only team below was UMass. There's only 12 teams, not 13. There's no Buffalo for baseball, and that it's not
so
great.
Bowling Green's 8 and Ohio's 9. I miscounted, but regardless, you get the idea.
Yeah.
A disappointing one, I think. When you play these early series, you're still figuring yourself out as a team. I think Coach Kyle Halleck, by all rights, by everything we've seen in his tenure, that's a guy that's going to experiment. I mean, how many different places did he play Garrett Wright last year? This is a coach that's going to mess around, figure out what his team can do, the different ways he can deploy them. And I mean, I fully believe, find the best setup for them. But that in mind, when you're vying for position to make it into the tournament or fight for tournament seeding, if it's, a little more favorable than it looks right now. Obviously, it's too early. We're not counting anything out yet. But the point being, this is the series you look back on as, wow, we left some wins on the table. If you're the Falcons, it's a team that you probably should at least be winning the weekend. I mean, there's a strong argument with as well as this team has competed against top tier teams in the MAC. This is probably a weekend you should have swept, to be honest.
I think I remember talking about with some of our Falcon media guys off air, and I'm thinking if you probably before the year started, you probably mark this one down as a sweep or win this series. Definitely losing it's not great. There's a silver lining. I know we want to talk more about the games, but they haven't been swept yet in conference play. They've lost every series, but they're 3-6, so they've gone 1-2.
Yeah, getting a win every weekend. I think I'd rather have that than winning a weekend and getting swept two other times.
But the start is to they play Kent State and Miami, and they were the top two teams in the conference heading the year. Not getting swept by them is pretty good, especially Kent State, who beat Tennessee earlier this season. I mean, taking a game from them is really good.
Yeah, I mean, very top-notch team. 8-1 in the conference, only one MAC loss to the Falcons, and 18-4 overall. I mean, that's a powerhouse.
Yeah, and then you take one in Miami, you come back, and you're then 2-4, then coming in, and you're finally back home. They played 17 straight road games. I mean, the same thing with our softball team. I mean, they just. Nature of being in Northwest Ohio, Bowling Green, you're going to be on the road for a month and a half of your season. So, that's just, it's so much travel. I mean, it's so much being away from being home, and now you finally get home. Maybe now they're just getting used to everything, used to being home again. And there was a lot of added pressure this weekend from, the field dedication and being everything. Maybe they felt that a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we're just assuming we're sports talk right now. But, that could have been a factor of the weigh-in. I mean, they really could have. But now you're 3-6, and then you lose a series against Ohio. You got to sweep a team that you get back to 500 in conference play. So, I mean, you're going to have to do it eventually. So,
and that's a tall order, too. Your schedule doesn't immediately write itself to an easy one. You've got some non-conference competition. They're going to play Tiffin. They're going to play Findlay. That's scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Next weekend, they've got Northern Illinois Friday, Saturday, Sunday in DeKalb. So, the second worst road trip distance-wise in the MAC. Not that, you're always sweating the road, but I mean, it contributes. And a Northern Illinois team that's currently in 5th right now, 5-3 in conference, 12-7 overall. I mean, a solid ball team by all accounts this year.
They got 5 games next week. They got Tiffin Tuesday, Findlay Wednesday. That was supposed to be the original home opener last week, but because of the weather, they had to move it. So they play back-to-back days against, non-conference opponents. Tiffin and Findlay, they pretty much play them that once a season now. And then they're back on the road again to Northern Illinois. And that's not the farthest travel in the MAC, but it's not close. So, I mean, again, it's you have 5 games, and really the NIU ones are the ones that really matter, if we're just being honest. So, I mean, what does Hallock do for Tuesday, Wednesday? I mean, does he just play freshmen and people that aren't going to really start or play? Because that's what I would do.
I mean, and even especially gauging the arms. You're really limited if you're playing 2 games. You got another 3.
But then you don't want your star players to get cold.
Right.
At bat or pitching. So, I mean, you want to at least get some reps and some playing time with them as well. So, I mean, I want to see what he does Tuesday, Wednesday.
I would like to think it feels like Tuesday, I mean, you're facing a pretty comparable level of competition against Tiffin or Findlay. I mean, not cut from very different cloths, those teams. So
that's a great comparison.
Thank you. I think Tiffin, just because it's the earlier game, I think that's the game that you let some guys that you're relying on. If you're letting Stady pitch at all before Friday opener, because I know he's kind of the leadoff guy for this team right now. Leadoff pitcher, I should say. I know leadoff's more of a badder term, but I digress. But I think you let if he's gonna get action at all, I think you let him do it on Tuesday, and then you let him. You give him the longer rest Wednesday against Findlay. I think you let guys who are maybe going to get less reps during the season or next weekend, let them get into the game and shake it up a little bit. But to be honest, I don't really care too much about those results. Not that it doesn't matter. Not that you don't want to build some momentum, some confidence, get some wins at home in front of the fans. But it's conference play. It's all about conference play. Northern Illinois, again, not a top team. I mean, it's not a Kent State, not a Miami, I don't think. But right now, they're a game above Miami pending whatever result they had today, because the MAC website doesn't like to update super readily. Actually, those 2 teams played today at 2 p.m., so there's probably going to be a different result on there soon. But all that being said, you've got your work cut out for you. I think there's winnable games, but the thing that sucks for them, you can win the next 2 weekends of MAC play and you're still going to be under 500.
You can't. True, you can. I just hate that we're having this conversation in general. I mean, this weekend should have been a celebration weekend. I think it still is. Like, you still should leave. Like, the lead should be, we have turf, we have lights, we have a brand new field. It's really nice. Come watch baseball team play because they deserved it after 2 years of really just coming out from the graveyard really for this program. And Kyle Hallock deserves all the credit in the world for kind of spearheading it because obviously he was the coach of the team that led this really turnaround. But it sucks because, like we're talking about now, just in the way they're positioned, you kind of going to need to win a handful of series in a row or at least get a sweep in order to just get back to 500 and so, which is unfortunate, but there's plenty of baseball left to be played. It's still quite early.
Yeah, and I mean you're only 2 positions out of that top 6, that tournament space. You only need to be in the top half, which is not the most forgiving Mid-American Conference, I guess, but it's not the worst either. I mean you're not locked into you don't have to be a top 2 team to move to your championship game. But a couple challenges. They got Northern Illinois, then they'll have Oakland in another midweek one, probably a little more competitive than Findlay and Tiffin, but not pretty on par to the MAC Horizon League team. And then you've got Akron currently in the standings, 1 spot above Bowling Green. They're 4-5, 10-12 on the year, so not a slouch, not like a remarkable team in the Mid-American Conference, but if you're going by records, neither are the Falcons. So I mean, pretty even match there. But I think you have to just hope, if you're the Falcons, you've got to win the next 2 weekends, in my opinion, to not be pressing the button of concern, as it were. There's still plenty of series left after that. I mean, you've got Central Michigan, UMass, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, Ball State. You still got 6 conference series after Akron. But in the next 2, if you don't get to 500 or above, you're staring down basically halfway through the year of MAC play, and you're below 500. And I mean, I don't think against the back half of that schedule, you've got Western Michigan, you've got Toledo, you've got Ball State.
Those are tough teams
that are those are teams 4, 3, and 2 in the conference right now, behind Kent, who again looks like a power. So those are all double-digit win teams already. Western Michigan and Toledo are both 10-10. Ball State's 11-10. They're all 6-2 in the conference right now. You're not making up ground in those series. You can win some of those, absolutely. I mean, if you get hot, you could sweep some of those. I mean, you can compete with any of these teams. The problem is, it doesn't matter if you let yourself get too far behind out of the gate. So I mean, Northern Illinois and Akron are going to be. It doesn't feel like we're far enough into this baseball season to be talking like, wow, this is so pivotal. But I mean, this is huge.
It is. I think NIU, you have to take the series. I mean, if you lose one, I think you'll still be okay. I think if you take the series, you get that underneath your belt. You come back home with Oakland. You have Akron. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because Easter Sunday. So they play here a little bit earlier in the week. I think that's also one. Yeah, I mean, the next couple MAC series, you got to take. I don't think you can really afford losing, really, unless you're going to just put. I mean, you can, but you're going to, like you said, you're going to put yourself behind the 8 ball to the point where it's going to be really hard for you to catch up. So I think if you win NIU Akron, you sweep one of them, that'd be great. But if you take both series, I think they're in a really good position. These non-conference games now, like the Oakland sprinkling in between them. I know we're projecting really far, but they still have Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. They don't really matter outside of just like testing your team and seeing how well they can play against like the top quality Big Ten team and just seeing how far they can go really. But conference play is what matters. So I mean, you really got to start taking conference play wins, and even really this week. I mean, Tiff and Findlay, momentum's key. Getting guys some momentum going. Maybe trying out a couple things. Switching some positions around. Maybe trying out somebody new. If you win, great. If you lose, okay, you move on. But this NIU series is pretty big, and I think if you take 2, you're great. But like you said, it's just an awkward position where I don't think if you only win 1, you can really say, okay, they're like, smash the panic button. I mean, there'll definitely be more concerns if that does happen. But if they get swept, then might want to panic just a little bit because they would be 3-9 then in conference play.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at it, Bowling Green at 3-6 right now. If they're to win both of the next 2 conference series, they'd then be at 7 and 8 at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a game back from 500, winning both series is. I mean, it doesn't feel like they're down and out by any means. They're only 2 spots out of a berth. Miami's only 5 and 4 compared to 3 and 6. I mean, they're not that far ahead. But I mean, I think if you come out of that any worse, if you come out 6 and 9,
yeah,
I mean, you're a full sweep back from 500.
Yep.
And I don't have any belief that those top teams are going to be dropping more than probably a game a weekend unless they play each other.
Yeah, you're banking on beating those top teams, which they very well can do. I mean, it's baseball; anything can happen. I mean, you very well can, but it's not favorable on the schedule or on paper. I mean, that's why I said if you take 2 from IU and take 2 from Akron the following MAC series, you're just easily chopping away, and then you're at a better spot. But if you don't, then you just constantly get more and more behind. Then you're going to look up, and then you have Toledo twice remaining, Ball State, Western Michigan. I'm trying to think who else they have that's really good down on that Eastern Michigan as well. I mean, those are not slouches. So, I mean, then you're going to really think, okay, we have to take at least 2 from all these series in order to, get in or maybe get a top spot, which is not what you wanted at all.
Yeah, and I mean, the last 2 weeks, you've got the Western Michigan and Ball State. Those are your last 2 series. I mean, you would love to win those. We're pretty far off from those yet, but you can't go into those needing 6 wins or even 5 wins.
No, and I mean, I think really this weekend is just, it might be a little bit of Monday overreaction or what's it called, because I mean, losing to Ohio is not great, but this team could very well sweep NIU next weekend and they win all 5 games next week, and we could have a different conversation next Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, they just can. So
I think the biggest thing, looking at this weekend, to me, Ohio was able to light up the scoring pretty well in games 2 and 3. Shut out in game 1. I mean, Easton State, he had a phenomenal day. To me, and I'm sure Tyler Kavlitz and Noah Seeley have their opinions. To me, I think the pitching room needs to improve a little bit. I feel like we haven't seen a second guy be a significant standout like Stady has. Just come and kind of take over a game like he did. And I mean, I think you need guys on Saturday and Sunday, or at the end of the double headers, that can do that if you're going to have a chance to start ripping off series wins and making your way through.
Yeah, you are. And I think this weekend you can probably blame the bullpen. I think it's probably the most of the blame probably for the both losses, but they would know more than anybody, I mean, exactly what it is. I mean, I think they just have a lot of improving guys in that pitch. I mean, Jacob Turner, Carson Sova, you got a couple of proven transfers that came in, but they're not BG guys yet. So I mean, you have other than that, you got a bunch of young guys. And
another really good point to that credit, theoretically, I mean, especially with a lot of young guys who are new to this team, they should only get better. And that's a really, that inspires a lot of optimism, because you gave up a lot of runs, but the fielding wasn't bad. You had 1 error. Ohio also had an error. You didn't get any beat really in the field like that. You did, again, give up a lot more runs, but Bowling Green also could have had a lot more runs. They left 15 today. They left 15 batters, or 15 runners on base compared to only 7 for OU. I mean, you can't double them up in a stat like that. That means you had how many hits, and so many less of them you're converting into runs. And in a game where you don't even, I mean, you're not losing 10-0. You know what I mean? I mean, missed opportunities. So I think it is a lot about what the Falcons are doing and how they're getting better compared to just the opponent they're playing. I think at their best they can probably compete with the majority of the Mid-American Conference, if not all of it. I think we just need to see the development for that to happen. So I think, I mean, every series from here is going to be exciting in my opinion, just because there's so much potential with this team clearly, and there's so much growth. I mean, you look at Friday's 7-0. I mean, that's a team that can compete. I mean, they looked really good, or sounded really good in my case, listening to Tyler, but I digress. I think this team's got a lot ahead of them, but they need to take the steps that I think the staff is kind of expecting them to on a player's level. I don't know that you can really put it on the coaching too much. Your bullpen guys kind of got to come through. And I felt like Saturday and Sunday they were a little bit lackluster, and the bats weren't super hot. A little bit breezy over the weekend too. Always can toy with things. The pressure of the moment with the field. I think all that being said, Northern Illinois, you've got a really, really good chance to just win a weekend.
Well, I think also too, I could be wrong, and obviously they're 6-14, sorry, and they're not going to have a winning record on any day, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I think they're 0-4 on Sundays this year. They haven't won a Sunday game yet, which is something to just keep an eye out on. I know that's like a very niche stat to keep an eye on, but
this is a sport where that that can mean
stuff
something
matters.
when you have consistent rotations. I mean, that's absolutely
So I think it might. Who is your Sunday starter, really? Like, does Hallock really, if you go up to him now, like, who's your third guy that you're going to have a Sundays? I don't think he would give you a definitive answer. I think he might give you a few, but I still think that's just to be decided. I think he's just still trying to figure that out because he just doesn't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, you like Stady on Friday, but a lot of questions up there in that pitching department, which I think, I think the belief is certainly that they have the talent there. I mean, it's really just a game of consistency. I mean, it always is. But I think Northern Illinois is going to be very telling. If this team's on a trajectory where they can compete and maybe make a run, I think we're going to see a winning result in DeKalb. If we don't, jury's not out. But I'm more inclined to think that this is not necessarily a year to be, an actual contender.
Yeah, not a good weekend for all things that considering what we said, but it's baseball, and there's also there's many games left. So I mean, this team could very well turn around, even just next week. So I mean, who knows?
Yeah, definitely a lot to watch for. But the Falcons will be really busy next week with 5 games prior to the next time we're on the air here. Tiffin on Tuesday at 3 p.m. That's a Stellar Field. Wednesday, also 3 p.m. The University of Findlay visits Stellar Field. The Dragons and the Oilers also, some fun mascots there. I like the Tiffin Dragons.
Tiffin Dragons is a good name.
It's a fun one. And then, of course, they will go to DeKalb, Illinois, the Falcons, that is, to take on the Northern Illinois Huskies in their swan song for the Mid-American Conference. That'll be a Friday, 4 p.m., a Saturday, 3 p.m., and a Sunday, 2 p.m. pitch. As always, Falcon Media Sports Network will have you covered for all the baseball action coming up this week. You can check out the broadcasts on Falcon Radio and WBGU 88.1 FM, depending on the day. Usually Falcon Radio for those midweek ones, as I recall.
Yeah, Tuesday's on WBGU.
Tuesday's going to be in here, WBGU.
Yeah, and Wednesday's, Falcon Radio.
Wednesday and Falcon Radio. Yep. You can find both of those on bgfalconmedia.com. You can also use your apps such as radio.net, TuneIn Radio, if you like to stream that way, and 88.1 on your radio dial in the car. Also check out bgfalconmedia.com, where all of our photos, written recaps, and sidebars, and much, much more will come out with every Falcon Athletics event. That's going to take us out of baseball and move us into Dawson's favorite part, I hope. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I hope.
No,
the
definitely.
softball team. And again, I've said this, it's getting a little bit cliche at this point, but I have to say it, just based on, where they were a couple of years ago, it's hard to think that, the softball team at this point would have a better record than the baseball team. But take us through this weekend, because I think, by and large, Friday and Saturday, not what you look for.
No, yeah. Friday and the first game of Saturday, both 1-0 losses, which is actually the first time this year that the Falcons have been shut out. So I personally was kind of pressing the panic button for a little bit, watching the games and whatnot, like what's going on. Especially the previous weekend, Central Michigan, we had some hitting troubles, and those obviously continued into both of those games. The next game of that doubleheader, we ended up winning 7-1, so figured it out. Eddie Martin had a big part to play in that one. But, yeah, the main kind of theme, if I had to put a theme with it, has been the hitting problem. But the good thing is that we've had some great pitching, so...
Yeah, very inconsistent bats. As you said, you get a 0-1 result on Friday and the first game Saturday. But then the second one, the 7-1, the back match of the doubleheader, definitely something to look positively on. You held Western Michigan to 1 run 3 games in a row. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. That's what you look at the pitchers for those, Mackenzie Krafsick, Olivia Roth, and Morgan Beckham. All of them have been pitching great this year. You look at the weekend as a whole, 0.74 ERA. Like, that's awesome. How do you lose that? So, what was saddening to me, I guess you could say, is that we outscored Western Michigan 7-3 on the weekend and had the advantage in hits 20-16, but lost the series 1-2. So, Yeah.
And again, conference play is even earlier for softball than it is for baseball right now. But you're still looking at a really odd spot. Softball sits in 10th in the MAC, sitting at 2 and 4. Only Ball State and Massachusetts both 1 and 5 below them. And it's weird because Bowling Green has the third most wins in the conference overall. Miami has 21. They're 21 and 7. Ohio is 19 and 11. Bowling Green's 14 and 12. Obviously, again, non-conference, that impacts things. I get that. But then you're 2 and 4, and you're in 10th place, pretty distant from tournament position in a really mixed bag of a field right now. Buffalo, Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, Ohio, and Miami are all at 3 and 3. Toledo, Kent State, and Central Michigan are at 4 and 2. Akron 5 and 1 in conference play. It's early. I mean, there's going to be movement still, but it's a really deep field, which does make you feel all right about the Falcons' outlook for the rest of the year because they're only a game back. It's not like they're winless. They're not sitting at 1 win, and I mean they're competing. You know what I mean? You're winning a game convincingly, and you're losing close games. I mean that's a competitive team by any metric, I think. So. Yeah, I mean the bats though, kind of an issue. I mean, what do you think? Do you think people are just getting in their own heads? I mean, is they just streaky? I mean, what do you see there, and how do you think how do they go about righting the ship on that?
Yeah, the big thing I would say is what you mentioned with getting in your own heads. Versus Central Michigan, I think over the weekend Addie Martin was 0 of 7, and then this last game, the most recent one where we got the 7-1 win, she was 4 for 4, looking like her typical self. So. Talking to Coach Gardner about some of the woes, she kind of uses the phrase getting too big, right? Like, you guys are doing good, sometimes setting too high of expectations on our shoulders. Like, just go out there and play your game and everything will work itself out. And you mentioned the standings, kind of the mixed bag and whatnot. Central Michigan currently in that second spot in the MAC. But if it weren't for 3 errors in the first I guess that was a doubleheader, that Saturday one, 3 errors, and then the Sunday one, 2 errors. I personally feel like we should have won those. And talking to Coach Gardner, she was a bit upset about those as well. Like, we were that close, and it's a second place team in the MAC currently. So, looking ahead a little bit, they got Buffalo next. Especially after this previous game, I feel really good about it. So.
Yeah, I think, like you said, but for some errors that are not really the norm, but, kind of a bit of an outlier, I think, in those games against Central Michigan. This is a team competing with, teams that are in second and, tied for the third best conference record, even though there's, 5 teams tied at that record. Regardless, I don't think you've seen a game in conference play so far in your 2 weekends where you've really thought, yeah, this team can't compete on that level. And so coming home again against Buffalo, I think you definitely got a nice chance here. Buffalo, another team, 3 and 3, 10 and 17 on the year, and Buffalo's conference games themselves have been a weekend loss against Northern Illinois, a 14-7 loss, 11-10 win, and then a 16-8 loss in 5 innings. So just looking at that's a team that's allowing a lot of runs. Alternatively, they turned around and beat Kent State 14-1 in 5 innings, won 6-4 over them, and then lost 7-1 in the third of the weekend. So a streaky team, some okay non-conference wins, UConn, FGCU, but nothing. I mean, no crazy, no power wins, nothing super exceptional in the non-conference. So. Looking at Buffalo, I think this is a great, as good of a weekend as any, go out and get a weekend win for this team, especially when you look ahead. They've got Kent State, who's, higher up in the standings. They've got rival Toledo coming up after that. And so for conference play, you're not getting any easier anytime soon. Ohio's in that 3-3 tie, and they're also 19 wins on the season. So I mean that's a quality softball team for sure. I think you're in a really critical spot here where Buffalo gives you a great opportunity to build some momentum, and you're not gonna have a much better one for a while. So you really want to look to win that Buffalo series, especially because you're at home for it. looking ahead to OU. OU is a team that beat Notre Dame in a non-conference match. So I mean, that's a legit win. Their 19 wins is not really inflated by a week out of conference schedule, and they're only 3-3 in the conference. But they played Toledo. Obviously lost the week. Well, not obviously, but lost the weekend there against Toledo, who's one of the better teams, 4-2. You got Northern Illinois, who they beat 9-1 and 11-7, only losing 3-1. So I mean, you've got competitive teams coming up fast, and so Buffalo, I think it's really, really critical. If this is a team, and I'm not saying, I don't think this team could miss the tournament and the season wouldn't be written as a disappointment. That's not the point here.
Yeah.
But the quicker you get better as a team, the quicker the expectations for you rise, and that's just kind of where the softball team's gotten to. We saw the football team get to that earlier in the year after wins on homecoming against Liberty and against Toledo, where it felt like, okay, wow, this team could make a bowl game. They didn't, but as soon as the success came quicker, people wanted more, the fans wanted more, and that expectation, that bar, you raise it at whatever pace you want to, and if you set it up here, well, you gotta start catching up to that. That in mind, I think Buffalo is a great starting point to kind of get back on track the way you'd like to, get yourself a win in Mid-American Conference play, and build some momentum going into those next couple tough opponents.
Yeah, and I know it's been a while since they came out, but looking at the preseason poll, Buffalo selected 9th with 40 points. Bowling Green selected 10th with 34 points. So I'm looking for them to win the series for sure.
I think everything aligns really well, and for a team that's definitely in a hitting slump, the slumps always break at some point, and maybe it won't this weekend, but it feels like there's so much time left. They still kind of feel due.
They do, yeah.
I think they're really overdue for a stronger hitting performance. In particular, Addie Martin, who's not been her exceptional self that we've gotten used to in her time here.
Yeah.
I think we've got a big week in for this team for sure.
And one thing with them being due, Buffalo has an ERA of 7.5, which is last in the MAC. So if you want to get your players right, here's your best chance to do it right now. Go up against one of the worst pitching teams in the MAC, get everything right, get back on track, get those bats hot. Just seeing one hit can really spice everything back up, and that's all you need to do.
For sure, and their dugout for Bowling Green is so loud, the energy. So I think you're exactly right in that. As soon as the bats get a little hot, it'll be a fun one.
Because with Addie Martin, but not just her, you can have a strong batting team. One of the stronger batting teams. I would say Martin, for my money, is one of the better batters in the conference in general. It's not happening right now, but I mean, you look at 10th right now in batting average in the MAC. I don't think that reflects at all the potential of this team. The pitching, 3rd overall in ERA, 3.51, a little more, accurate. So, that's more what you'd expect to see with this room, what we've seen this year. But knowing that they're still competing, and this is, about as bad as the bats could be right now, to be honest. So, I think you've got a lot that you can still build on, and in particular, finishing off the weekend 7-1, I think, is an omen of righting the ship. So I am very convinced that this team's gonna come back home next weekend and deliver a strong performance against Buffalo, and I think they get their first MAC series win of the year next weekend.
I think so too. Yeah, reflecting back on the past weekends, CMU, the story was errors. This past weekend, it was bats. So you look at the other team's runs and you look at how good our pitching was, you'll be able to fall back on that. So kind of what Foster mentioned with that being back at home, a little warmer weather, hopefully. I think that we should be good.
I don't think you can bank on that.
You're asking for a lot at that point.
It's back to being the 50s here.
That's what you think, pal. That's what you
speaking
think.
It, yeah.
He's manifesting, or at least trying to. Can't blame a guy for trying, can you? No, but I mean, if you look at, one stat isn't everything, but you look at the individual hitting average on the MAC website and you scroll down, you have to scroll down until 40 until you find where Addie Martin's at right now. Do you believe at all that that's where her place is as a hitter in the MAC?
No, definitely not. No. It's just had a slow start.
She's
a great player. Yeah, that'll go up. End of the season, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in here. We'll be looking at that. She'll be way higher.
And once that starts going up, I mean, I think, your stars getting hot, I think helps, the rest of the team too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is a team that, a bit of a slump, but I'm expecting a pretty big turnaround here next weekend.
100%. And I think it's important to point out too is that this is Coach Gardner's second year with the team, right? This is still a young team. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but the expectations and the goals that this team have are to hopefully make the MAC tournament. So all things considered, even though they were in a slump, hopefully it looks like they're turning the other way. I think everything is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that, you go scoreless 2 games. I think the important thing is you didn't get swept against Western. I think that says more than anything. You could talk about 7-1 versus, only giving up 1-0 wins the other days. I don't really care about that score as much as I think just, having the resolve to not, roll over because you've already lost the weekend and, taking that win. I mean, even if you don't win the weekend, those weekend wins aren't really an official stat. It just means you had more games won or lost.
Yeah.
I mean, every game matters. So I think this team's really, really ready to turn it around this week against Buffalo. Is there any other stones left unturned here? I feel like we kind of just need to get to Buffalo to, really see what's going on.
Basically, yeah. Buffalo's the bigger one. You take a little peek around the corner, Ohio State. That'll be a fun one to see. I was looking at the schedule so far for Ohio State. They played Western Michigan March 10th and lost 11-10. So Falcons have a hot weekend versus Buffalo.
Exciting.
We'll have to see.
That I think, I feel good about the Falcons' chances against Buffalo, even if they don't have a result against Buffalo that they'd like to. I think there's a very real. I think you're going to see a competitive game at Missouri Field
100%.
against the Buckeyes for sure, and I think there's a really good opportunity for this program to fly the MAC flag, which isn't something they've super frequently had the chance to do in some years. So. A lot trending in the right way for the Falcons, but to actually put it to paper, they'll need to see a little bit better of a result next weekend when they take on the Buffalo Bulls. It will be a home contest at Missouri Field on Friday at 3 p.m. and then a doubleheader on Saturday at 1 p.m. and then the final match 30 minutes after the ending of that Saturday 1 p.m. one. Lucas, I see you hovering the button, buddy.
Were you going to plug the broadcast? Is that what you were doing?
Why don't you go ahead?
Well, so just people know, it's going to be a WGU YouTube broadcast this weekend. So excited for that one. I don't think we've had a live stream softball broadcast in a handful of years. It's our first one. So it's our partnership with WGU. It's the same thing we did with men's and women's soccer. So looking forward to it. Should be fun. I know he's excited.
I'm very excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fade in math class for it.
Dawson Pelter and Ben Korak.
Both of them on the call, definitely one you got to be excited about. So be a really, really cool opportunity. It'd be exciting to tune in. I always really like the partnership with those broadcasts. I think they do a really good job. Our talent brings a lot, and I think it's just a really, really good experience to consume the whole package. But as always, if you can't check that out, you can check out bgfalconmedia.com, where we'll have written recaps, sidebars, photos, and much, much more every time a Falcon Athletics event goes down. Wrapping up softball there, we're going to talk about a sport that does not tend to get a lot of love in general. I mean, the fans, support the team, but it's just a sport that I think, especially at the mid-major level, doesn't get as much attention as they should. We're going to talk about the gymnastics team. So first and foremost, the Mid-American Conference Championships for gymnastics were at the Stroh Center, Bowling Green hosting and placing 6th overall, 7 teams competing. So, at face value, in a vacuum, you look at that and it's not, the most eye-popping stat for them. But I'm currently trying to pull because I don't know why it's not here. I thought it was on the athletics post. First winning season in a number of years, the gymnastics team. I will let my independent fact checkers confirm that for me as I nudge Foster, because I don't remember specifically the year. I know it was mentioned. Another really important piece of the puzzle, Kira Thornton was the MAC champion for the floor exercise with a 9.925 score. A really, really big win for Thornton, a junior here. She's been here for a while, her third season. And so, a big time performance for her, the highest score of any competitor in this championship meet. So not only did she win the floor exercise, nobody did better at their event than she did. So a shout out to Kira Thornton for sure. A really strong performance from her. Bowling Green also as a team outscored all 6 of the other schools in the floor exercise, the highest they've had in the floor exercise since March 17th of 2018. So you're looking at 8 years since they've had an output that well. It's the 37th individual MAC championship for the Falcons. Thornton is the 20th person to become a MAC champion and the 7th floor exercise champion in school history. She's the first one since Catherine Wellebatcher in 2024. So not that long, surprisingly, since they've had one, but still, really, really impressive. And just, opening it up a little bit, the turnaround that Coach Brittany Emmons has had, only her second year at the helm of this program. And a lot better place than the Falcons have ended some previous seasons, even just in the time that, Lucas and I have been here.
Yeah. I'm getting roped into the conversation of how long I've been here with you, which is kind of scary in a way. But honestly, yeah, and if you look at the record, is it great? No. But if you looked at what this program was in previous years, you'd be like, wow, this is an incredible turnaround. I'm just happy because, one, for our organization, we covered this program a lot more in depth than we did in previous years, which I was happy about. If you go on bgfalconmedia.com and you look at the recap that Kevin Hutchinson wrote, but Nick Winholtz was there, our videographer for video. Brittany Emmons' face and her whole demeanor during the press conference is kind of like, not made my day in a way, but it made me feel hope for the program in the future. She was very happy. She was smiling at everything that everybody was asking her. Knowing that the team did place 6th in an event where, there wasn't, every single MAC school wasn't an event, it was still towards the bottom. But her overall just tone of voice and the way she delivered and hope for the future was very exciting for me. And I think that should be exciting for any gymnastics fans in Bowling Green area, but honestly, just anyone that knows Bowling Green athletics. This is a team that nobody really even knew. No one really, it was kind of just, we have a gymnastics team, whatever. But, even if you go back, Kyla Shaw, getting all MAC honors a couple weeks ago and her, breaking a couple records during a couple meets before. And, I'm just happy, not for Emmons, but just for the entire program as a whole. They all seemed a lot more connected this year from afar in terms of just the press conferences and just what I saw. Obviously, I didn't get to go cover any of the meets, but just seeing everything online, I was like, this seems to just have a different energy to it. I don't really know how else really to explain it, but yeah, Kira Thornton being one of that. I mentioned Kyla Shaw being one of those as well. There's a handful of these Falcons that I thought that were kind of the culture builders of this team, and they you build around them. They all just seemed happy. Like anytime I if they win or lose at home, they just seem happy to just have competed and get better. They kind of just seem like they're trusting the process in a way, and they're just going to keep gradually getting better and better every year as long as Emmons is here. So I'm really happy for the program.
And I think it's really important to not only you have a coach who was a former standout for Ball State herself, a coach with that Mid-American Conference experience, but in a sport that's so individual, you have team scores, but it's so individual. Every individual has to, just take care of their own, performance. It's so technical and there's so much pressure. It's so physically challenging. That it's really all the more impressive to, there are a few sports where, you have to have the mental edge that you have to have as a gymnast. And I think it's really, really reassuring about the outlook of this team that they're, kind of regardless of the result, able to, maintain a positive mindset. I think they know, I like what you said about the culture building. I think they know that they're working towards something, beyond the expectations of, where this program has been at. And, especially Emmons, you can tell, just in demeanor. I think she's imparting the right things to her athletes, and I think this program's only going to continue to grow, as much of a slow grind as it may have to be.
That 2002 season for gymnastics, they were 17-1. overall, and they placed 5th in the MAC championship. That was in Muncie, Indiana. They went 24 years after that without having a single winning season, and then they finally this year 10-7, which honestly is great for them. And yeah, 1-5 in the MAC, not great, but you're 10-7. You made history. You did something that you haven't been done in 2.5 decades. So I mean, that's pretty impressive. So good for them.
Definitely a really, really strong conclusion to the season for them, no doubt. The winner of the Mid-American Conference Championship this year for gymnastics, Central Michigan, they haven't won it every year, but they've been a little bit of a dynasty. Since 2010, Central Michigan has won or had a share of, by my count, 11 MAC championships in 16 years. That's pretty dominant. Mm-hmm. Hard to do a lot better than that over such a span. Even so, the scoring margin's pretty close. I mean, Ball State could have easily had it. Central Michigan 196.025, Ball State 0.225 behind them, 195.8. Kent State rounding out that top 3, but Bowling Green, only half of a point differentiated Bowling Green from being 4th versus 6th. So, again, 6 out of 7, you're a little disappointed maybe that they couldn't have placed higher. I see Dawson trying to lock in, and I appreciate it. Foster in my blind spot. But jokes aside, solid. You know what I mean? It's a building point. It's like we talked about with softball. You're not expecting this team to throw a haymaker and make a run at winning the MAC championship yet. And that's okay. I think you look back at the second year as, an overall success. You got back to a winning record for the first time in a long time. Individual MAC champion. You weren't last at the championships. Nope. And now I think next year is where you look to them to, make a splash at, higher up in the rankings, maybe even sniffing, one of those top 3 spots. I think could be totally realistic. Again, 3rd place, 195.325. Bowling Green, 194.275. You're only 1.05 points away, which is not a lot. Pretty thin margin there. So I think this team's got a lot of potential to build up to a Mid-American Conference Championship. To me, another hiring by Derek Vandermeer that is, dead on, and one that just, needs more time because, building greatness in any program, in any sport, is always going to be a process that takes some time. We're getting close here to the top of the hour, and I don't want to dig into our other topics just yet because we've got another hour. But before we take a little break for station identification, I want to throw it around the room. Gentlemen, how is your bracket looking right now? I'll go first. I wanted to be brave. I wanted to be a little bit outlandish. I picked both MAC teams to win their opening games.
Oh, I did too.
Attaboy.
I did too.
Ball knowledge. That did not happen. The 2-bid MAC is a 0-team remaining MAC. Unfortunate. But otherwise, how are we looking? Is anybody's champion out yet? I sure hope not.
No.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I have Florida. I'm sitting at 89.8%. So I could be worse. I had not the best opening round. I didn't have High Point upsetting Wisconsin. I had BYU beating Texas. There was a couple games that I got that cut me down a little bit. I totally should have not picked Miami to beat Tennessee. I
completely understand where you guys are coming from with picking Miami, especially in that first 4 game where they couldn't miss a shot. I didn't pick Miami. I didn't pick Akron. It feels almost like
you gotta pick one of them.
No. How much I watched them and how much they beat us. And how badly they beat them.
I watch a lot of basketball. My whimsy's gone. Okay, Foster. Pick the Zips, man. Have some fun. Come on.
I picked Hofstra. I picked Hofstra over Alabama. That didn't work out for me.
No, I will say I was very happy. I did pick High Point, so I was
great team. That guy making his first 2 of the season on a game-winning layup.
That one of the stats of all time. The first 2 of the season. I mean, what are you talking about?
His first 2
that
of
was
the
electric.
Season. It was amazing.
I am sitting in. There's the bracket I do have Florida in. I'm sitting in second. This isn't the Falcon Media one. I'm sitting in second, behind by 10 points. So
I'm in third in my group. My percent is only 68.7, and
Yeah, that's what mine is too.
oh my gosh, twins. But I'm standing. Just looking ahead, I can tell that I'm gonna lose out on a lot more points. It's not gonna be good because So for context, I didn't fill mine out until after I realized that Miami was already playing in the first 4, and I was like, "Oh, I got to do that still," because I was not gonna miss out on it. And so I went a little bit hastily, and there was one team where I was like, "I'm gonna take some liberties." And so I actually had Akron winning 2 games.
wow.
So that one's gonna hurt me a little bit.
So here you go. Here's your champion Mid-American Conference. Here's Texas Tech.
Yeah.
5th seed. It's like great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Stoppable force meets immovable object. I find your force very stoppable.
Who do you have winning?
I have Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm
Arizona attaboy.
I'm sitting at 79.1%. So
Oh,
not
very
bad.
nice.
Good. That's
But
better
the
than me,
the
yeah.
bad ones for me have been BYU and Vandy. I had them going
Oh, okay.
a little bit farther, but
fair.
obviously Texas beating BYU and then Nebraska getting a last night.
Oh,
I'm glad I
yeah.
was asleep and not watching that game, or else I would have been
I
pretty
would've
upset.
That was such a close shot. Too.
Yeah.
I was a slacker, as I mentioned, and I never added to our Falcon Media Sports Network group. Can I get a place check on where the members? Just because we're live.
What are you?
Sure.
What are you sitting?
I just want to know who's
points
in the lead.
wise. Oh,
Who's
lead,
in the lead? And who's
Coyle.
in last?
Coyle, Nick, and Tyler and Ben are all tied for first.
And Ray
Wow.
sitting. I'm gonna give.
That's
Ray
quite the
tech-
4. That's quite the 4 to have time.
Yeah, all
Technically
four.
speaking,
I'm at 5th.
I'm
so
sitting sixth, right behind
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
And technically speaking, Gavin's in it. He never filled it out, and he's got 0. So we'll go. What about
You know,
that?
Gavin Gill just got a slander right here on live.
There's no
on
slander.
radio.
He didn't fill it out. That's on
If
him.
you check out the re-upload of this episode, this portion may not exist. Gavin Gill, the
Gavin
editor
Gill does
for
that.
this show, maybe he may omit that information, but you heard it live. He
That's right.
did forget to fill it out.
And then, so technically speaking, last is Ray, who picked North Carolina to win it.
Raymond.
North
oh,
Carolina
no.
was 2008.
Yeah, and they
2000s.
obviously lost
Oh,
first round
brother.
to VCU, so he's
Five-
sitting with 230 points.
590 potential points.
Yeah.
As of right now is
Yeah.
not where you want to be sitting
No.
at.
So a follow-up question. Oh, no, go
Oh,
ahead.
actually, do you guys think the MAC will regularly get 2 bids now in this tournament? Because now they both didn't do well for all intents and purposes. I mean, Miami obviously got into the play-in and
Mhm.
won. Basically a home game. Dayton's like 50
Very
minutes away.
much good.
But I have a feeling the way they performed that they're going to have to just – the conference itself have to repeat a season like this again or for to get 2 bids. I just don't think
No.
the committee or the national media, I just don't think they take a lot of stock into the MAC. I just don't think they do.
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to go back to a 1-bid MAC next year, unfortunately, unless
Because Miami's not going to do what they did
no,
again.
they're
No.
not going to
No
do
one's
what
going
they
to do
did
what they did
again.
again. So
They're going to lose a couple. Suter's a senior, so he won't be back. And that was a big driving force for that team.
I mean, they went undefeated in regular season and got the playing game.
yeah.
I mean,
for
that's
the- I
what
mean,
they
they
did.
you know,
did
like-
lose a really bad game to you.
To be
You and I
honest,
called that first.
they
We did call that game, Lucas.
they don't have to they don't have to do the play-in if they beat UMass and lose in the second round. Honestly,
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
no, I don't
either.
think so. I
Maybe.
think losing to an 8 seed who was overall pretty mediocre in the first round of the tournament, I think that's what sealed that
Yeah,
for them. It kind of
maybe.
enforced that narrative that the MAC is weak. Look at this bad team beating this team that everyone thought was good because they were undefeated in the regular season. Which, in fairness, I also still think they were a good
They
team.
were a good team. I think the commissioner of the March Madness tournament came out and said they were the first of the first 4 teams. So that I do believe that if they won that game and then lost in the second round, they wouldn't have that first 4. They would have had a at-large bid.
Probably.
I just think being a 1 seed losing to an 8 seed just is such a
Yeah,
bad
Never
optic.
looks good.
No, nope, not at all. We are going to take a break real quick for some station identification, but don't you worry because when we come back, we got a lot more to talk about with some action in men's soccer, track and field, tennis, and some transfer portal action too. So don't go anywhere because we've got a lot more coming up on the second half of the Zig Zone here on WBGU 88.1 FM.
You are listening to Falcon Media Sports Network coverage on WBGU 88.1 FM in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Looking for a BG Athletics discussion show? Check out The Swoop, where a rotating cast of Falcon Media Sports Network co-hosts talk everything BGSU athletics. New episodes are available every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on the BG Falcon Media YouTube channel.
Back here on the Zig Zone, once again, Falcon Media Sports Network, PG Falcon Media, and WBGU 88.1 FM's flagship radio sports talk show, where we take you through everything going on in the world of Bowling Green athletics. Holden Ruck, joined by Dawson Pelter, Lucas Kleinmeyer, and Foster Rostai. That's a mouthful of last names there, but we got through it. And let's get into some men's soccer. Lucas, I know you were on the call for some action on Friday night. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we just now with the spring sports, really, baseball, softball, and track and field, gymnastics just wrapped up. Tennis, there's really not, the calendar's not filled like it was in the fall and winter. I mean, football have a spring game, basketball seasons are over, hockey season's over. So, volleyball doesn't really do much in the spring. So, I mean,
hey, they work hard. You be respectful.
No, they do. They
no,
should, but like game wise.
That's not what you meant.
But the spring league is stuff from soccer that's gone more and more big. But I mean, there's talks about changing the calendar for NCAA's college soccer to a full year from fall to spring and having like a gap. So I mean, so like that.
I would be interested. in that.
So that's why like the spring league's gotten bigger, because there's been because that's what they're doing with the Major League Soccer calendar and everything. So they're trying to just adapt it to the college realm. Still, the games don't mean anything really in a sense. It's just a preseason tournament really. You kind of get a preview of next year without like the incoming freshmen or some transfers really. So men's soccer played at Ashland this Friday at Cochran Stadium. We had a radio broadcast. I was on the call with Kevin Hutchison. We had a recap. You had a press conference that Eric Nichols talked to him for a handful of minutes. So we did cover it a little bit. They won 1-0. They're still toying with this. With it being just a friendly. They played 3 30-minute periods and then not 2 45-minute halves, which I thought was interesting. But Bowling Green scored their goal in the second period. There was a giveaway by the Ashland keeper to Tyson McCoy. Tyson McCoy passed it to Badurov in the box. Badurov just slot through open net pretty much, and that was the difference. They could have had 4 or 5 goals really in this one, and they didn't. Harrison, the keeper for Ashland, they played a handful of others, just kind of made a handful of saves and stood on their head a little bit, which was really good. Just some general thoughts. I mean, I know people didn't, unless you went to the game, you didn't really watch or listen to our broadcast on Falcon Radio. It's most of all freshmen play. I mean, they're either redshirt freshmen or sophomores in the fall of next year, but that's what they're listed on the athletic website, but they're still technically freshmen. They're still in their first academic year. Tyson McCoy and Adine Ibrahimovic were the 2 strikers. They're both right now freshmen. They'll be sophomores next year. Ibrahimovic has a very similar profile to Trace Terry, and McCoy has a very similar profile to Bennett Painter. They're basically very, not carbon copies, but they're just very similar profiles. Tyson McCoy looked great. So, I mean, for you guys going to be here next year, I mean, he's going to be a fun player to watch. He is quick. He's got his foot on the pedal. He's aggressive. Very similar to Painter, but he likes to be more in this middle. Doesn't drift out wide a whole lot. Very aggressive. Likes to go in for challenges, tackles. I don't know if he's as fast as him yet, but he still is only a sophomore. But very similar type of profile, and he created the goal basically. You should give him credit for the goal they scored. Ibrahimovic had 2 really good chances that, in my opinion, he should have scored. Harrison made a good save. The other one he couldn't put on target. But he was already the biggest player on the team last year. I mean, he's listed 6'3", I think almost 200 pounds, like 190. He backpack kids, man. I mean, he just holds them off like a senior. I mean, he did that as a freshman. I remember a scrimmage against Dayton, and he just only played a game this past season. So, I mean, if he develops and grows into his body and can make some shots and get some goals, I mean, you got 2 elite strikers once again. It's all based on potential, but they both ended up good. Same formation as they played. The midfield was Josh Saveja, Mats Christensen, Coway Ramos, which was kind of the main 3 this past year. Ramos was playing as the attacking mid. Saveja kind of dropped back, which was a little interesting wrinkle. But it worked. It seemed more fluent. They kind of seemed more assertive, more direct. Seemed kind of more on the same page in a way, which I thought was nice. And the 2 wingback spots, Andrew Schaefer and Anthony Hernandez both graduated and moved on. Aiden Batasic was on the right wingback spot, who was more of a central midfielder, which I thought was interesting. And Diego Ramirez, a freshman, was in the left wingback spot, and he was pretty good. He was very fast, very shifty, can kind of play left to right. Didn't play at all. He redshirted, so he'll be a redshirt freshman in the fall and end up getting a start, which I thought was pretty good for him. probably Pop will play off the bench, so Will Banks. He kind of played pretty much everyone who really didn't play or got some minutes. Everyone looked pretty solid. Give it grants Ashland. I think a big thing that stood out to me besides Tyson McCoy really playing good was they played 3 keepers for 3 30-minute periods. They had Enzo Gio started, and then Jason Ball, and then Will Schutte actually played, who kind of has a story of just being injured. Really, his whole collegiate career was injured this past year. I think he had some injury trouble previous years, but injuries kind of just kept him off really from getting that number 1 shirt spot. Played 30 minutes, looked good. I'm happy just to see him play. I covered the team for 3 seasons, and I never saw him play a competitive game. So, I mean, that's interesting to look at. I mean, it's still not decided, and I don't think it will be decided until when they get back in the fall, really. But all 3 keepers did look solid as well, so that'll make good saves.
Yeah, I mean, nice. I think it's a good thing for this team having these, shakeout games in the spring, because it's a season that is, currently at least contained to the fall. You go so long without playing, and when you're in a year where you've got, okay, we don't have Andrew Schaefer anymore, we don't have Trace Terry anymore, we don't have Bennett Painter anymore, there's so many question marks. You don't want to have to come into the actual season and be trying to figure those out on the fly, which you're still going to have to do a little bit. I mean, I think that's true for every team that has turnover in an offseason. But, as you said, a lot of, guys getting, playtime that haven't, I think is, purely positive for this team. Again, a scrimmage against a team that's, it's Ashland. It's going to be,
right.
With all due respect to the Eagles.
2 red cards, by the way, from Ashland.
Really funny.
Yeah. And just because it was a friendly, they still play with 11.
Doesn't sound very friendly, Lucas.
No, it was actually really intense. I should have led with that. It was a very intense game. Like, one of the center backs from Ashland, I'm blanking on his name, he just 2-footed, I think, Ibrahimovic in the first minute of the game, got a yellow card. It was a scrimmage. I'm like, what are we doing here,
Antonio
guys?
Soto?
Yeah, Soto, yeah. I was, okay, I mean, this is what we're doing. Yeah, and worth knowing that was just a friendly scrimmage. They're in the College Spring League again for the 3rd year. They played Michigan earlier, tied 1-1. McCoy scored. They got a point. Michigan got an extra point in the shootout. It's kind of like hockey rules they're doing in the Spring League. So they're in the North Division, so they have Akron and Ohio State. They host Ohio State Friday. Whoever wins the North plays number 1 in the South. Second in the North plays second in the South. Third, fourth. The South is Louisville, Marshall, Michigan State, I want to say.
In the South.
Yeah, Dayton, I think.
Does not sound very geographic, but I digress.
No, they kind of mixed up a little bit. Yeah, Dayton, Louisville, Marshall, Michigan State. So, I mean, they mixed it up a little bit.
Right.
I think Ohio State was in the North and Dayton was in – they flipped the 2. I think they flipped. I think they just want to mix it up, really.
Noted southern location,
I know.
East Lansing, Michigan.
I know. So they have 1 point. Ohio State, Akron are really good. Akron was in the Elite 8, I think, NCAA tournament or Sweet 16. I mean, they're really good. Those are the 2 best programs in Ohio besides BG. So, I mean, tough 2 games. It's good to see how they land. The final game when the top teams play the South Division, they play at Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus for the final game on April 11th for a neutral site. Winner gets a trophy, probably some money. Don't know, but they get a trophy. And so they make it a competitive deal. There's a golden boot, keeper, MVP. There's a lot of stuff. So, like I said, though, I think they're just experimenting with this league to see how it would work for the full calendar year schedule with a break and everything. So, I'm like Foster with basketball. I'm a soccer geek. I love covering this stuff. So, I mean, any chance I can get to watch them, I'll watch them. Watch them and see how they do. So, but Ohio State this Friday, which I'm actually really, really excited for. My freshman year, they hosted Ohio State, and it was the 2nd largest crowd at Cochran Stadium in program history. That was my first taste of men's soccer my freshman year. They lost 1-0, but I think it's my last home game, which is honestly kind of a full circle moment, even though it's not a real competitive game. So, kind of fun, exciting.
Definitely cool, full circle for you as you're on your way out here. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot to be excited about. There's so many questions when you lose players as impactful as they did. I mean, I think the story of the men's soccer team this year was arguably a lot about, the depth that you lost, in the goal and on the defensive end of the ball. And now you're kind of flipping it a little bit more, losing the offensive production that you had.
Yeah.
But I think, it'll be exciting to see kind of how this settles. It feels like even more new guys because it's the offense and the names you're going to hear called. It feels like it's a newer team, even though it's a fairly comparable turnover the last couple of years.
It's definitely going to be a new team or a new era, if you want to say. It's going to be because you're going to have like Gus Peacock, Saul Rios as your two starting defenders. Enzo Gio will be a senior. Matt Christian will be a senior. Who's your captain? Saavedra will be a senior. Like, you have guys that will be seniors that will start and play, but there's a pretty big gap. Then you're going to have a lot of sophomores or redshirt freshmen that really didn't play a whole lot, and then you have another freshman class coming in. Junior-wise, you have a handful, but they don't really play. A couple of them are keepers. Rocco Badurov is a junior, and he'll be a starter, and, Patasic's a redshirt junior, so you can count him, and then you have Bradley Popo as a transfer. There's just a big gap. You have a handful of seniors, and then you have just a bunch of young guys. And this was a young team last year, really, but those guys are going to need to come along and prove that they can be starting 11 caliber players. Like, last guy I'll touch on, Xavier Sims started because they don't have like 4 defenders really on this roster alongside Rios and Peacock, which I'd be excited if you guys come back in the fall and that's not your starting back line. But Sims looked amazing. I mean, he's a dog. I mean, he was just athletic, physical. He played almost 90 minutes as a freshman after only playing a handful of minutes, and he was unbelievable. Like, his timing, athleticism, speed, physicality, he was all over the place. Reminds me so much of Joey Apononu, who is one of the best defenders in program history, who got drafted in the first round, and in my freshman year. So watch out for him next year. I mean, he could be really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, all things considered, good to watch some soccer. Good to cover it. So, yeah.
Good to see what's going on there. As always, Falcon Media Sports Network will keep you up to date with everything going on with that team, as well as every team out of season and in season. Check out bgfalconmedia.com to keep up with the vast, vast majority of everything coming out as it comes out with Falcon athletic events going on. And you can check out our live stuff as well here on WBGU. Oh my God, words. WBGU 88.1 FM, as well as on Falcon Radio. And you can check out BG Falcon Media on YouTube, where we upload a lot more, including rebroadcasts of this show, our live broadcasts and highlight packages, press conferences, and other feature stories as well. Moving on, the tennis team, the first Mid-American Conference win for the tennis team in a match since 2022. 4 years is a really long time, but a 4-3 win over Eastern Michigan, you'll take it. The Falcons earned the first point of the contest, winning 2 games on the doubles court. Libby Blair and Kira Taylor winning, and then Konstantina Adamopoulou and Leticia Fonseca.
You nailed that, by the way. Good for you.
That was nice.
A 7-5 victory for them, giving the doubles win for the Falcons. And the Falcons got 3 wins in the singles contest as well. There's a couple names. I with respect to these athletes, I'm gonna butcher a couple of these. But 3 Falcons winning today. Coach Mike Bonnell had to say, big win for the Falcons today over Eastern Michigan in a tense Friday match that went back and forth all day. We dropped the doubles point but battled back with great energy, and that momentum carried into some strong singles performances. It's only fitting that Leticia Fonseca clinched the match. She's been here since the beginning of my time with the program, and it's awesome to see her come through in that moment. So, I mean, great step forward for a team. There's a lot of parallels in some of the non-revenue sports here at Bowling Green. There's just been, kind of a little bit of a series of struggling. August 22nd, 2022 is when Bonnell took over the program. So first win in a match since 2022. Big time step forward for a program that has, certainly struggled. So, and to do it, locally in Perrysburg, no less, certainly nice for them. It's got to feel good for those athletes. To be honest, there's not a lot much more to say on that, but it's news. So it certainly warrants mentioning. One that
I think Foster has something to say.
Oh, Foster!
It's a very nice facility. If you guys haven't been up to Perrysburg to watch the team play, I was able to do it a couple times last year while covering the team. Very nice facility. They got a great place to watch it, sitting up above where you can see all the games, going on. Especially when it comes to singles matches, you can see there's 4 courts on each side. You'll see them all the way down at the far end playing all their games at the same time. So a lot of action going on at the same time. When the tennis team is playing.
Definitely an underrated sport too. I think it doesn't get enough appreciation. I mean, in fairness, like I am somebody who will watch any sport, so I will say that with a grain of salt. I've enjoyed watching cornhole on ESPN4 before. I won't lie.
It does get
I'm
electric.
that guy.
I'll be honest with you.
Foster knows ball.
Yeah.
Or bag, as it were. He knows bag. Is
Bag?
that? I think that's right.
Yeah. ESPN4 doesn't it just morph into ESPN
HBO
Plus
show.
now?
Oh, I don't know. That's what it called it at the time. I think I was on vacation and it was
ESPN4.
on, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm into this.
Wow.
Hitting the airmail here, it's like they're using all these phrases you've never heard. It's awesome. It's like I didn't know they had that much terminology. That's so sick. But moving on, keeping it back with Falcon Athletics, a number of personal records for the women's track and field team in their outdoor season opener. For the men and women, actually, setting some personal records for sure. Great day to start. For the men's 3,000, Micah Bentley had a 6th place finish with a personal best of 8:44. Luke Woolard had a career best 9:06.06. Really strong performances there. Wyatt Ulbricht also a personal best at 8:59.35. So for the men, 3 of them just in that 3,000 meters. Not really active during the indoor season, so good for them to really get into it. And a lot of personal bests for those distancers. For the men's side. In the field events for the women, every Falcon recorded a personal best. Grace Bratt-Mueller had a 46.47 meter throw. Karma Williams had a 45.17 throw. Sierra Podolin, 38 meters, and Sydney Williams, 37.72 meters. 4 hammer throwers with personal records, which is really, really impressive for a team that's been really competitive in that event and then kind of fell flat for all 3 performers at the MAC Indoor Championships. Definitely the trajectory you want to see. That would not have been enough of a difference to catch Akron and Kent State in that MAC Championship in the indoor, but it would have certainly closed a good portion of that gap because that's an event where the Falcons left. I mean, the most points you can get in one event at the championship meet is 24. If you go first, second, third, you go 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, or 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is how the top 8 score. So you're leaving. I
We
mean,
have Holden Ruck doing
22
math
potential
here, live on air in the
with
Zig
Holden
Zone.
Ruck,
Live on
in
air.
contrast to Ben Korak, a math guy. But I mean, you're leaving 22 points on the board, and you only trailed by a comparable margin. So definitely good to see athletes get back to form in that event. Sierra Brinson was 4th in the shot put, and Lilia Tomaszewski, yeah, I said that right. I almost butchered it, but I caught myself.
Pretty good.
4th and 6th in that event. The Falcons put one of their best performances down in the discus, placing 4th, 5th, and 6th. Freshman Natalie Vranken led the group with a personal best of 42.57. A freshman leading this group is super promising for a team that is coming off of a season where they won 2 championships, a top 3 finish at the most recent one in indoors. Really, really good stuff, just building from the ground up again, especially for this field athletes team. Sierra Brinson, mentioned earlier, followed 41.52 meters for her. Sierra Podolin had a 42.48 meter personal record for that discus throw, and Emma Hoffman had a 38.04 meter throw as well. All of those Falcons finished in the top 11 of the event, which is pretty good for a number of teams competing in Oxford at Miami's Blizzard Buster meet. Last but not least, Tomaszewski, mentioned earlier, had a personal best in the javelin, 36.98 meters to place 4th. It's the 9th best in program history. There was another PR from Elizabeth Wilson. She had a throw of 33.87 meters as well. So pretty much just field events for the women's side for this one. But, an area where they left, a lot of points on the table that they could have had at the actual championship meet an indoor season. So I think the number of personal records and high placements is only a really, really good thing for this team. They're going to get back to action when North Carolina State hosts them this weekend at the Raleigh Relays. So we'll get some more numbers on the actual track side of things, which will be exciting to see.
I have a question for you. I'm going to steer this ship way off the rails.
I have an answer for you, Lucas.
Why do you think there's such a big discrepancy between the men and women's like track and field and cross country results? I feel like we always see the women's team win MAC championships, indoor, outdoor, personal records, and the men team are kind of. I mean, they have had some good results in some, but I don't think they're on the same level for some reason. And I know Lou Snelling is the head coach of he's the dean of cross country and track and field here, basically. So like
the dean is low-key, that's a really that's not
like,
crazy.
Why do you think that? Do you think it's just the quality of competition is different, or like
I don't think it's the quality of competition completely. I do think. I feel like the drop-off is more significant when you get to mid-major on the men's side versus the women's side. If you look at, I want to say last track season, Laura Nicholson was a distancer for Toledo, and she completed a triple crown, I want to say in the 2 mile, and 5,000 maybe. I could be incorrect on that. Independent fact checkers will determine that at a date to be named. Laura Nicholson has also competed on like national levels and at like the NCAA levels. I believe she ran for Ireland because she's got some Irish heritage, not like Olympic level, but like competing at qualifiers and the kinds of events that you see individual athletes from like the University of Oregon and like teams that are competing for NCAA nationals. And she was a graduate transfer to Toledo. So, I mean, when you compare, you're really, seeing maybe a guy every couple of years coming through on the men's side to that extent. I'm not 100% on that, but based on what I know, I think the drop off into mid majors is a little bit steeper. You see guys running at, you look at like a power conference school, like in Ohio State, for example. Actually, Bowling, this is a great example. 2 years ago, Bowling Green's best male runner by season's end was Anthony Sweet, and he transferred through about 4 different schools before he found himself at Bowling Green, originally running at Western Kentucky, so a fairly comparable level, but then competing for Ohio State's club team. So he couldn't even get on the team there. Maybe that was more of a coaching issue than an individual athlete ability. But he ended up coming to Bowling Green and being kind of a star here in All MAC. I think he made third team All MAC his second to last year here. All that being said, because that's probably more than you asked for. But you steered the ship.
I asked the question. He went, long ago, Lauren Nichols.
Lucas was like, I'm going to say this, and then I don't have to talk for a couple minutes.
No, I appreciate the background context, though.
But yeah, you've got guys setting, records for the Ohio State Running Club record book that can then, compete and be an All-MAC honoree. And then you've got athletes on the women's side in the MAC who can go compete at, national levels potentially. And that's very anecdotal. She's not quite there yet, but definitely a star for the Falcons. But all of this to say, you've got a little bit of a discrepancy in the competition level, and I think for Bowling Green too, for both sides of the running, part of the reason that I give such a testament to the work that Snelling has done is, in particular, the women's side has done an incredible job of recruiting. I watched Reese Riemann win a state championship before she was a Falcon for Woodridge. And, that's an athlete that could have gone to a lot of other schools. You know what I mean? Other schools in the MAC even, different schools have different amount of resources. Different schools are in different towns. There's a lot of factors that go into it. I think the recruiting that this program does, especially on the women's side, has done a pretty impeccable job because, these are athletes that could, and, in this world transfer portal sometimes often do, end up at bigger, flashier, more glamorous stops. So yeah, I think I answered your question somewhere in there.
I gave Holden a chance to talk about track and field. I gave him like a little bit to dive in there. Because like the women's team, if you go back, what they did last year and then just what they just continuously do, it seems like they just get a lot more headlines than the men's cross country team just based on pure results. I just didn't know if there was any other like clue or context that I'm missing in that one. But regardless, Lou Snelling is the GOAT, and he's been here for who knows how many years, almost 2 decades.
And the other caveat too, particularly on the men's side, per athletics as well. I don't have like a quote on this or a statement of when the programs became established as this or that. Between men and women's sports, because of scholarship allocations, those sorts of things, men's track and field is not like a designated primary sport for the Falcons. If you go onto the men's sports tab on the athletics website, baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, ice hockey, soccer. Women's sport, you'll see golf, gymnastics, soccer, cross country, basketball. swim and dive, tennis, volleyball, track and field. So it's a separate. They still compete on the varsity collegiate level for the women's side, whereas for the men's side, they'll put out the information. They'll write about them. They'll take them to the meets, whatever. But they compete in kind of a more similar sense to like a club type of team. Certainly still separate from Bowling Green's actual club, like intramural running club, but it's kind of a weird in between space. Just I think primarily due to like scholarship allocation. So all that being said, I think that's probably as big of a reason. And then beyond that, kind of competition. And I don't think Bowling Green's the only school you see that either. If you look around, the MAC and comparable athletic departments, you'll find much of the same.
Could be an email, man.
Happy for you, or sorry that happened. Either way, I ain't reading all that.
But also just happy though. We got some track and field talk. I mean, that's good to know because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It's a thing that I think it flies under the radar really easily.
No, it does.
And track too. You know what I mean? You can watch the Olympics. How much play-by-play can you do? You know what I mean? They're running fast. They're gaining. If you're watching a distance race or like a short distance, like a mid-distance, I think like the 400.
Just an acid reflux.
If you're watching the 100, it's over as soon as it starts. You watch like the 400 to 800, you can see people, kind of switching positions at the lead. I mean, you can commentary on that. It's kind of hard to do with like cross country,
Yeah.
You're gonna get like the drone multicam and have somebody set up like, oh, he does a great job of mantling over the fallen tree at mile 2.5, like. And that's as the former cross country runner. It's a different animal for sure in the world of your footballs and basketballs in confined spaces. Yeah. But that's what makes it cool. But yeah, definitely a strong start to the outdoor season for track and field, and they will get back to it. Actually, next weekend, North Carolina State hosting them, so we'll have coverage of that as we always tend to. With every sport, actually, because Bowling Green Athletics, if it's going on, we've got it covered. Falcon Media Sports Network on bgfalconmedia.com, BG Falcon Media on YouTube, here on WBGU 88.1 FM, and on Falcon Radio, of course, as well. Moving on, since the last time we had a discussion about women's basketball last show. A bit of a flame out in the tournament. Not a super surprising outcome. Less than 24 hours later, Paige Kohler hits the portal. And then it's, kind of a waiting game. We didn't have to wait awful long for that waiting game. I'm going to toss this one to you, Lucas, because you are still our women's basketball beat. So
Janaea Donahue announced her intentions to enter the transfer portal, which, again, doesn't open up till April 6th. So that goes your two captains on the team this year, announcing pretty quick. Bowling Green's the team with the most entries in the portal of 3. That other being redshirt junior, 1 year eligibility left, Jasmine Fern, also entering the portal, who spent 4 years with the Falcons. I do believe she graduated as well, but regardless, she was here for 4 years. Kind of similar to Kohler. Paige Kohler is graduating from Bowling Green and then moving on as a graduate transfer. I would imagine Fern is the same. Donahue's not. Donahue will be in her junior year, have 2 years of eligibility. I don't think you can say anything like you're not shocked. I mean, just by the world of college athletics, now you knew it was a possibility. Just how well, let's talk Donahue first. How well Donahue did. Being an all-MAC freshman team her first year. I think she was second in the MAC in steals or led the MAC in total steals in her freshman year. Then this past year, she was second in NCAA in steals per game and broke the program record for total steals in a season. And I think steals per game as well. And she ended up adding offense into her game. And for all intents and purposes, she was the best player on the team this year. I mean, she was outstanding, pretty much almost every game. I mean, she missed a couple of injuries and had a couple off games shooting-wise. But, I mean, they looked to her to be one of the main guards with Kohler. I mean, I got to double-check, but either she was first or second in the team in total assists. If you told that to me before the start of the year, I would have been like, what happened? Because that was just not her game at all freshman year. And she's added that. I mean, she's really starting to add. If she can just be more consistent offensively and add even a three-point shot to her game or a mid-range shot, one of the most complete players, if she's staying in the MAC, one of the most complete players in the MAC, but like just an overall complete player, if she can add that. I mean, defensively, there's very few in the country you're probably going to find that's going to be a junior next year in the women's division game that you'd want on your team other than Janaea Donahue. I mean, she's just that good. In terms of the program, it's not a good look. It's just not, and it's not a good look on what's happened the past 3 years. And you're looking at next year, Lauren Gherkin, Taya Ellis will be here. Those are two players that Ellis was a starter. Gherkin started half the year basically. Other than that, it's gonna be a whole new team. You don't have, other players that are graduating, eligibility like Emily Cecil, Kendall Moxie, Kaya Woods. But other than that, you got a couple. Sophia Mosking didn't really play much. Kira Miller was a freshman that got some handful of minutes. That's about it. And then your handful of star players are now leaving. So next year I'm very intrigued to see how the program looks, and it's very sad because I traveled the program, did all the away games. It's hard seeing that in a way, but at the same time you're not surprised by just how things have just unfolded and how the results of the season have gone. So yeah, big losses.
I have a question on this same topic. So specifically looking at, Paige Kohler enters within about 24 hours, Janaea Donahue later in the week. What level do you see them arriving at? Do you think this is a lateral move? Do you think either of them gets, power conference consideration, stay in the MAC, or, a comparable, like a Horizon League, where do you think?
I think Kohler goes either. I had Kent State for a bunch of reasons, but Todd Starkey left. He's now associate coach at Arizona, and Maya Babbitt just entered portal, so they're kind of not rebuilding the way, but it didn't seem like it's going to be working out. But she's from the area. Contending team. I just had a little theory. I'm like, if she's going to stay in the MAC, that team would make sense. I know she was really committed to Buffalo, then switched. I can see her staying in the MAC, but I can also see her going to Horizon League. Youngstown State's a really good women's basketball program. It's where John Nicolay, assistant coach, came from. Kohler, to my knowledge, has some teammates that played over at Youngstown State. It makes sense. 1 year left. I don't think she can consistently be your number one option, just how the way this season has played out. I think she's just going to be more comfortable having other stars around her. Just the way it unfolded this year just didn't work out for which way or another. She still led the team in scoring points per game, but efficient-wise, no, sir. Was not very efficient shooting at all. Donahue, I would be kind of surprised she doesn't go Power 5. I can see her doing it. The issue is, okay, you want to go Power 5, not start maybe, just come off the bench, or would you rather go a lateral move, be a starter, or maybe just a league above, like an A10, and start? That goes down to, NIL money and, scholarship. It comes down to all that stuff. She's good enough for Power 5, Power 4, but, starting-wise, it's kind of like, we'll see, depending on there. But I don't think Donahue stays in the MAC. I would be surprised if she stays. I think she'll move up.
So I guess that answer in mind, then, that's where I find it, more troubling. Maybe in the situation of Donahue, if she is that good, then a move is inevitable in this day and age. By estimations, I think you look at the scoring inefficiencies. Obviously the defensive performances, a lot of steals. Clearly deserving of the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. But, the scoring ability, the scoring consistency, missing some things from her game that I think make it understandable why she's like a strong player in the MAC. Maybe not, outright the best player in the MAC, but a very good one. Donahue, that is. With neither of them, I guess we have to wait and see where they end up. My piece is, I think it makes the look for the team even worse if the moves are lateral. Mm-hmm. I think it makes it way worse.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It's one thing if you're just that good of a player and an upward trajectory is inevitable. Mm-hmm. But, in particular, even moving within the MAC, if, I don't know. I think by most estimations, but might as well. This is a better Foster question. Foster, approximately how do you gauge the strength of the Horizon League compared to the Mid-American Conference in terms of women's basketball?
In terms of women's basketball, I'd say they're pretty comparable.
Okay.
I wouldn't put them
Cleveland State's a really good program too.
Cleveland State's great. I'd put them one of the top. They'd be able to hang with Miami or Ball State easily. No, there's no question to ask that Youngstown State could probably give plenty of MAC teams a run for their money.
I think last year, Bowling Green lost to Cleveland State and Detroit Mercy, both on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're definitely comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, same kind of like city size. They have the bigger city sizes, obviously, but I think they're matching up very well. It's also a very Midwest kind of league, so I think they match up just ways of play as well. They're very defense-oriented, defense to offense, like the way Bowling Green likes to play as well.
I think, kind of wrapping up my own thoughts, at least until we see more information, we see, portal actually open.
The thing is, too, like, they could come back. And
Right.
it doesn't April 6th. I mean, they could just be, you know what, I don't like it. We saw Javante Campbell do that. They could very well come back, and that completely changes the conversation. They're not officially gone, but history would say you enter, you're gone pretty much. But who knows? We'll see. I mean, and there's just so many unknowns. There's just so many we don't know. We just don't know. And we don't know who Fred Shamil and his staff will bring in. Like, they could bring in a good transfer or a couple good recruits. I mean, we don't know that. I mean, who knows? I just know next year it's going to be a completely different looking team. It'll just be different.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of change, I think, inbound. I mean, it is true. It's a good point. They're not gone yet. Ink's not on the page for a different team. Just feels like the writing might be on the wall.
Yeah.
With as quickly as especially, I'd almost be less surprised to see Donahue return.
That's the one where you're like, yeah, probably.
Because she's got more years of eligibility left. And, if you're considering the move up to the next level, but maybe aren't going to get the play time or, the offers you think you could get, maybe you run it back, build with some continuity, and then you are probably gone next year, but have, kind of better outlook to kind of finish things out after that, looking in the portal. For Kohler, looking as like a graduate transfer, her last year, I think, I don't think you enter the portal for no reason. Right. And especially again with as quick as that one is it's no slight to her or Coach Schmiel. It's just, I don't think that tells me that the fit's not there.
Well, I think what's like, and you guys can probably like add on to this, but like each player has a different reason why the transfer.
Yes.
I mean, some can be they're homesick, some can be just straight up NIL, they just want more money. Some can be playing time, some can be they hate the culture, hate the team. I mean, every reason is different, and you have to talk to each athlete because they all have a different reason. They just do. So, I mean, like, is the most common one money and moving up? Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast now. But, like, there are some that, they got a lot more money offered some other school, but I'm more happier at this school because I'm going to play more. Or I'm more happier here because my family's from here. Or I'm closer home by, or this is the team that recruited me. Like, there's different factors for each player. They're all different,
and that's what makes it interesting too. Paige is only about 2 hours from home here, already finishing degree, so like the university fit isn't necessarily the most important factor as it would have been coming out of high school. And I mean, you want to talk about play time, clearly not a concern here, so it's like, to me, that rules all of those out. I mean, I don't blame any player who can make something for themselves in an NIL era. You can't fault them at all for trying to take those opportunities. So I mean, it could be that. To me, it's between like that or the fit, and both of those are valid. But that just makes the conversation all the more interesting. And I'm with Janaea Donahue because she has more time left ahead of her. Because I think she's a bit more of a complete player, maybe just less consistent in like the scoring department, although obviously Kohler's wasn't always on efficiency either. I think there's kind of more ways hers could go, Donahue's that is. And because of that, that's the only reason I think there's like maybe a better chance of her coming back. I feel like with those things I mentioned that I feel like you can kind of rule out just based off of what we already just facts that we have, playing time, proximity, earning the degree. I'm really interested to see where Paige Kohler lands because I feel like she's going to be the first boot to drop, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. That's me, that's pure speculation, but we always do a little bit of that, not too much, but a healthy amount of speculation, right? But we will, as always, keep up to date with anything going on in the world of basketball. Curiously enough, while we're on the topic, and Foster made this point, as of now, it is 5:39 on March 22nd. Oh no. Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. It's 5:39 p.m. Todd Simon currently has how many players in the portal?
Big old goose egg. None so far. Granted, a lot of players will be graduating, so that's
always a factor.
Always a factor, but we can confirm. Well, I can confirm, and so can Artie Abreu. We did get to talk to head coach Simon for a little bit of a postseason interview. Javante Campbell has graduated from Bowling Green, so he is out of eligibility. So he should not be hitting the portal. Obviously, there's players who've been in their 8th season now in college basketball, so I'm not going to rule anything out.
It's egregious.
It is
salacious.
Egregious. It's terrible.
Outrageous.
But yes, Bowling Green, nobody's hit the portal yet for them. You look at some of the teams. Toledo's got 2 players who already have hit the portal. Kent State's got a player. Granted, the player Aaron Foster, medical redshirt, he didn't play at all this last season. So yeah, Bowling Green's in a really good spot, having nobody hit the portal yet, because last season, the women's team this year, a lot of players right after that loss were in the portal. So,
and they have the number 1 Michigan Gatorade Player of the Year, right, coming in.
They do. KJ Torber, Mr. Basketball in the state of Michigan. His father, also Mr. Basketball in the state of Michigan, played at East Lansing under Tom Izzo.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
I sense a feature story.
I've already
next
claimed
year.
it for next year, man.
Foster's got dibs.
I've already got dibs on that one, so that's going to be a fun one. Obviously, we have Lou Nairn Jr. on the coaching staff, which has just such a great, that East Lansing connection for the team, so they can really lean on him to especially recruit in Michigan. And Toledo, if you watch their team, a lot of Mr. Basketball Michigan's on Toledo. Blyden Jr., Sonny Wilson, both former, top-ranking Michigan recruits. Bowling Green getting a couple recruits from up there is going to be big for the seasons. They have to continue to recruit, and you saw what a freshman did this year, Blyden Jr. Really helped take him a sensational player.
I think that's on more Simon of putting those freshmen in and keeping them in, and not just taking them out.
That's true. I also don't think Camden Carroll's ready. I think he's going to be a really good player. I think he just has to put some more weight on. He's not able to work down in the paint yet. Yeah. Mekhi Leach doesn't have a consistent 3-point shot as of this point in his year. That's
Foster. While we're steering,
someone's stirring. I
No. Please hear me out. While we're steering the ship off course, who on the Falcons had a super consistent 3-point shot? If we're using that as a knock against Leach, let's be fair. That's not the identity of that team.
Yeah, no.
What were they ranked in 3-point shooting in the MAC?
What were they ranked in the MAC or in
the MAC this past season?
He probably knows in the nation.
In the nation, he probably knows.
It was not good for either, but they struggled shooting 3, and we talked about it all season within just here. They were 8th in the MAC. In 3-point shooting.
So bottom
half.
Yeah, bottom half.
Yeah.
And, I'm just saying I don't think lack of 3-point efficiency was a deal breaker for other guys on the roster. I don't think it should be for Mekhi Leach's play time.
I agree with you. It shouldn't be completely. I think
this feels so judgmental because I have my back turned to you.
He's talking to you the entire time, and he's just like,
I'm trying to stay on my mic.
To a wall. He's played very good defense. He's had some lapses on the defensive end, though. He's a freshman. He's going to learn a lot. I think he's going to be a very good defensive first guard, kind of like Javante Campbell. I'm hoping after this season of working behind Campbell a lot, that's what he's taking a lot of as the defensive end, because he can learn to shoot the 3. Everybody can. You just got to put the work in. I think he's going to be a much improved player. I know we aren't going to try to look at the 3-point shooting. 2 for 18 on the season for him for 11%. So I don't know if he.
I don't know how we got to the Mekhi Leach 3-point.
Right.
Well, I know exactly how we got there. You see, Foster said Mekhi Leach doesn't have a consistent 3-ball, to which I replied, who does?
That's true.
That's fair.
To be fair, this is the best comment you give Simon is there's no one in yet. Yes. And if you keep as many guys as next year, he's something he hasn't had here, which is continuity. Yeah. Because he's had 3 different teams in 3 different years. I mean, that actually might
10
help.
10 plus new players.
And you can correct me where I'm mistaken, but I mean, the trend previously, we've seen kind of those entries start to roll in a little quicker, have we not?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
normally we see them hit very early because the players want to get their names up there to the teams that have been eliminated. and even the teams that are still in the portal, because last year Campbell hit the portal right away, and he had some Power 5 offers right out of the gates, deciding to come back and play for the Falcons. But these players will have a lot of interest regardless of what level they play at.
But that's huge to me because Campbell entered right away, ended up deciding grass isn't greener and coming back. I don't think you've got a guy who could hit the portal who's, I mean, objectively speaking, looking at the stats, looking at the impact, you don't stand to lose a guy in the portal that's as impactful as Campbell. Obviously, he's graduating. You're still losing him, but you're not worrying about getting a player poached that was that impactful, right. And the fact that none of them are in it. Any who enter could also still come back, but the hesitation to do so, the fact that nobody's in yet, suggests to me that there's not as much of that drive. Like, yep, I need to get out of here. I want to see what's going on elsewhere.
I feel like the only player you guys would know more than me, but Meyer Wool might hurt. That would be one that would hurt. Probably.
Meyer Wool, Shackelford as well.
Yeah, those are the two
that I'm keeping my eyes on. Meyer Wool, he's had his moments. I mean, especially when Javon Ruffin and Justin Thomas went down with injuries. He stepped in. He stepped up big, especially in that Kent State loss. Had his career high in points as a starter, 32 points. He's had such a great offensive impact. It's on the defensive end when teams start to really go at him, which takes away from what he can do on the court and makes him at times unplayable. It really just depends on where he's at.
I'm almost inclined to think, too, that almost helps the Falcons' chances of retaining him, too. And, being kind of a project still, even though, the scoring potential is clearly there.
What I've really liked about Wall is that we talk a lot about the three-point consistency, right? A lot of the times when the team hasn't been consistent, he's knocked down the threes. I remember one of the games you took out his 3-point percentage and it was like 4% for the team. So one game very early on he had 16 points and perfect shooting.
Yep,
so
the very first game of the year versus Texas State, off the bench, I think it was 19 minutes of play, went 4 for 4 from 3. Just a great way to show, off the bench too, which was the big part. He was going to be that bench piece, and then he kind of just couldn't find his rhythm off the bench. He had a good rhythm starting. At times, he would just not get playing time. It just really depended on the matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like this team, this is a little bit off base, but we're still talking about men's basketball. I feel like this team ended disappointingly, but way better than I thought when we hit the second leg of the Max Sunbelt Challenge.
Oh,
that game was
please
insane.
Don't remind me of that game.
I'm reminding you, Foster.
No,
that game was nuts.
That game.
You saying Texas State made me think about it. I was like, oh, that's the Sun Belt. And I was like, the Sun Belt, 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that was.
I try to forget that Arkansas State game whenever I can.
What was the final score on that?
I don't want to remember the final score. Please, nobody look it up.
Yeah, surely nobody will look up the final score to that one.
25% from 3 or less in that game.
91-54.
Yeah, that was
yikes. But a close tournament game. Probably should have won it. You didn't, but I think
foul trouble early for Campbell. Kept him off the court.
Yeah, that's something I'm really interested to see if the way that playtime gets managed looks different next year at all. I just feel like, especially, I think even sooner. And if you're gonna play soft, which steering the ship. I'm personally a little bit against, you have too many, Lemoyne type games. No disrespect to the Dolphins.
Oh, wow.
But, I think you're playing a few too many soft teams in the non-conference.
That's fair.
And even then, let some young guys start. I don't care. Why do you care that much about winning that one? You don't want to lose to, a Lemoyne. That's fine. You think you don't have the gap that you can make it up if you get, younger guys, really heavily in the rotation?
No, I agree with you.
I know you've got to figure out your rotations year from year. And so my caveat is this. I think if you go into this next season, maybe lose one of those guys, Shackelford or Wall, but keep the other, keep some continuity. Your non-conference, I really, really want to see more development. I'm forgetting the name, but Mr. Basketball Michigan coming in, as well as Camden Carroll and Mekhi Leach. Those guys need to get some significant rotational minutes, especially if you're going to play softer competition like a Lemoyne or a Defiance.
Camden, especially. I'm looking at verbal commits right now, and they have teams kind of cut up by years. And the seniors, there's 7 seniors on scholarship on this Falcons roster. Campbell being the only technically point guard. I kind of combo guard him, but Campbell, Javon Ruffin, Justin Thomas, Greg Spurgeon, Sam Towns, Mohamed Maxmud, and Troy Glover, all seniors on this roster. So you're going to have 7 players leaving. 4 of them being power forwards and centers. So Camden Carroll, Preston Squire, and Aiden Goins are going to be your 3 centers. If they, hit the portal and leave, we can talk about that later. Those are going to be your 3 on the roster for next season. Camden Carroll is going to see a lot of playing time if there's no other bigs brought in the portal, and I'm sure there will be. Coach Simon has always brought in other bigs, especially seasoned veteran bigs, through the portal. But Camden Carroll is someone I'd like to see take a big step forward into next season.
Well, Camden Carroll, you mentioned how you liked getting the young Michigan players. Number 3 ranked player on Prep Hoops as a senior. I was also going to say, to Holden's point about not scheduling weak opponents, at least next year you won't be able to schedule Siena Heights.
That's
wow. Real low bonus Siena Heights there.
Dude,
Man.
you're not real. That's crazy.
Siena Heights. Oh, man.
But no, I would like to
fair.
see them schedule some stronger non-conference
I'd like to
opponents,
see-
because especially with the argument of Miami, who have they played?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. I'd like to see. It's not even like Power 4 schools. that they
Yeah.
have. Horizon League,
yeah,
Big South, the Metro Atlantic. Just get some other. Don't you say it? I know what you're going to say.
What was I gonna say,
You're
Foster?
going to insult my ball knowledge.
No, I was
there.
gonna ask you who plays in the Metro Atlantic.
The
Metro Atlantic
big
is
sky.
Quinnipiac, Sinus, Iona, or the Elon, Iona.
Okay.
That's your
Okay.
MEAC team. So some teams like that. I'd like to see more mid-majors kind of teaming up to get, like the MAC Sunbelt Challenge,
Yes.
more of those type of games to get mid-majors teams against each other.
Like, I'll be the first to say this game doesn't matter when we're in the heat of conference play and it's the second leg of the Sun Belt
Yeah,
Challenge. And
that's
it's like, I don't care about this. Is it Arkansas State Copium? Of course it is.
Absolutely is.
But, it doesn't count towards the record. You know, I'll beat that drum all day. But I would rather do that than play Defiance, and I know some of these were the women's team, some of these were the men's team.
Yeah.
Lemoyne and Defiance and Lords. I mean,
And Lemoyne, a D1 school, but the NEC is not the biggest power conference. Long Island University, fins up, made the tournament this year. Let's go. Unfortunate round 1 matchup against Arizona. Unfortunate for them.
what happens next, Foster?
I'm glad this went to transfer portal to just schedule talk, just off the rails.
When you get past that minute 50 of the second hour, that's where the
Yeah, I know.
the
Right.
leash comes off.
But yeah, I do like to see more Mid-American, matchups. There's teams. Detroit Mercy's right up the road. Why not go against the other Ohio schools? Wright State, Youngstown State, both would be great matchups.
Solid programs that aren't going to completely beat you down,
No.
but will still challenge you.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to
Yeah.
be challenged? Why are you going out and exert? I mean, you're still taking a physical toll on your body. I'm not saying guys are rolling over and dying as a result of playing against these teams, but I mean you're still playing full games.
Yeah.
You might as well play them against I think teams that challenge you would make you
Yeah.
better. I don't think Foster, if you go out on the playground with a 7th grader and you guys play 21, how much better are you getting?
Not. I'm just gonna.
Unless he's really nice.
You know what?
He
He could be the next big thing. But
but no, like teams like William and Mary or Utah
yes,
Valley,
CA,
like under 100 net opponents.
right.
That
Utah Valley, who was the Western Athletic Conference, who was the number 1 team. So just to see some more good teams like that.
Definitely. If Foster Rosti was the commissioner of the Mid-American Conference, things would be different. But right now we'll have to just live where we're at. But with that ship being steered back onto course, I think that's going to do it for us here from the Zig Zone. As always, to stay up to date with Falcon Athletics, check out Falcon Media Sports Network's content everywhere you can find it on bgfalconmedia.com, at BG_FMSN on Twitter X. Check out BG Falcon Media on YouTube. Tune into Falcon Radio and WBGU 88.1 FM, both on radio apps if you use them in your car for 88.1 or on bgfalconmedia.com as well. That's going to do it for us here from the Coolin Center studio. For Foster Rosti, Dawson Peltzer, and Lucas Kleinmeyer, I'm Holden Ruck saying have a good night.